was real. All our history's hazy, like driving in the pouring rain. Are we in too deep to heal? You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Before we're leaving here. I know it ain't easy, but there's something left to hold on to. We can work it through, you don't have to go. There's a future here with me. We'll find the light in a clouded room. Not giving up until you know. You tell me that you're sorry, we'll make up tomorrow. Tell me everything you know I wanna hear. I'm trying to be open, but that window is closing. And either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here. Either way, I need to make it clear before we're leaving here.
And shalom, everyone. Shalom. I want to welcome everyone to the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel. I'm Elder Michael Johnson, the pastor over here with King James Bible University and also with the House of the Lost Sheep of Israel. I want to welcome everyone here. And today we have a pretty interesting teaching we're going to be going through as we've been going through this journey on He Appeared. But I do want to let you guys know a couple of things ahead of time. I have some family came from out of town to join us here to sit there. They came here to witness their aunt, who had paid to a nice little age. So they came down here to see her, see how she's doing. They see she's doing good, and they over here and they hanging out with me. So I do appreciate them being here. You might, if we end up going over into the Zoom, some of you guys might even get to meet them, because I got two of them sitting in here right now. So we just want to welcome them as we sitting in here. But the main thing is we want to keep moving forward on what's going on and how we having this going on today. And what we're going to do here, we been going on this journey of the trees. And we want to understand everything in a parable. We need to understand the parables that is written in the Bible. And we want to make sure that each and every person understand what's going on. And if we don't understand it, there's no reason for us to continue to go through the Bible if we don't know what the Bible is saying. So we want to understand a few things, and I want to make sure that we clearly get this. And I want to know from the whole thing from the beginning, and once we see this, how we know how everything goes. But I want to know from the past couple of weeks and how we've been going through everything. Have everybody so far understood what went out thus far? What went out thus far? Have everybody understood it? And that's just a yes or no that we can have. I'm just trying to figure out right now what's going on. Do you understand what's going on? And we're seeing a couple of yeses, but we're getting it going through there. Now, if you don't understand it, we want to make sure that you're getting what's saying. So we got a lot of yeses popping up there. We got a ton of yeses running through here. Okay. And some saying some understood. That's okay, because we might have to run into the Zoom to make sure some, because we want to make sure everybody have a complete understanding on this. And that's one of our sisters who've been rolling with us for a little while, and we want to make sure she understands it because she's staying with it. So I appreciate the honesty. And then we got some say I'm catching on. So we'll probably end up running into Zoom, and to make sure we can be clear on that. Because one thing that I always tell people all the time, we want to make sure we never talk over anyone's head to where they don't understand the parables. They don't understand the similitudes that we push out. Because what we do, we run 100% Bible here. And we want to make sure that you completely understand what is going on. So what we're doing, we're going through this journey of the trees. We have came to, he appeared, and we doing the journey of the trees. And as we doing that, we're going to start looking at some things. We're going to start looking at them a little bit more in light. And now we're going to start finding out a lot more about who we are, about all things. So we got the Bibles up on the screen where you can see them, but we want to talk about this journey of the trees. And we know journey of the trees, talking about trees are elders when you look in the Bible, because it's the same thing we remember when you look at Joshua, when it says, when the trees went forth to even look for a king. So it's letting you know these are elders went forth to look for something. So the same thing we see here, the journey of the trees. And we have to remember something. When Abraham heard the Spirit of God say something to him, he told him something that was key. He said, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house. And he said he going to show him unto a place that he going to show him. And that telling you a couple of things we have to remember. That's telling you about a journey. And you can't take neither staff, neither script, neither bread, nor money, and neither two coats apiece. Meaning you're going to have two types of doctrines you're going to take with you. You can't do that with you. But you're going to do this on the journey. So the entire time, he's going to make sure that you're going to hang on to the Spirit of God. And then he told something to Abraham. He said, I will bless Abraham and make his way that I show him famous. He's going to bless him. Meaning Abraham said, thou shalt be a blessing to all the families of the earth. And anyone that bless his offspring, he's going to bless them. Anyone that curse his offspring, he's going to curse them. This journey is for the children of Jacob, seeking the ways of Israel to receive the kingdom of God, which is the promise that he had promised to his fathers. So we need to have faith as we look at this, and we need to have faith as a child. And why we got to look at that way, in that particular way, because you have grown people, most people grown, they suspicious of everything, but you have to have this same faith, this same understanding as a child. We're going to look at that and we're going to start going through it. So if you look up at my screen, actually, we're going to tell you what, I don't think I put my highlighter on, but I am going to put it on, and I can also do a couple other things. So we're going to go through this and we're going to look at them. So in 10:15, in Mark chapter 10, verse 15, we're going to look there and we're going to start there. And it says, verily I say unto you, whosoever shall not receive the kingdom of God as a little child, he shall not enter therein. You see how he's saying that? You see why he's saying it even in this way. You are not going to enter. therein. This is the bottom line deal. As a child, we got to have that same faith. We got to have that same expectation of a child when he's talking, when he's dealing with his parents. That's what we have to understand there. And when we go over here and we go and we check some things, when you see Proverbs chapter 22 and verse 6, you're going to see how all this is going to blend in, and we're going to isolate this to make sure you understand it. So what you see here, he's telling us the same thing. It says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he gets old, he shall not depart from it. He shall not depart from it. You see, I'm going to isolate that to where we can clearly get what he's saying here. When you train up a child in the way he should go, and when you train, you're going to instruct, you're going to discipline this child. You're going to do these things in teaching. And our children, we have to teach them the ways of God. The ways of God is how they have to be trained. The ways of God, they have to understand. The ways of God, they have to be instructed to do these things. This is what we have to remember about the ways that you'll see, but then you have people who will teach the ways of the world. We can't do those things. We can't do that. That's the ways of the world. That's the ways of death. We're going to see these things, but we have to teach our children how to mortify the deeds of their bodies. The ways of the world. We have to learn how to do that. That's important. This is why it's so important that we continually move forward on what we need to be doing. Because when we sit there and we learn about the ways of the world, we have to learn to mortify our life in the ways of this world, because it get into idolatry and witchcraft and seditions and heresies. This is craziness that we get into. This is craziness that we'll get into. One second. This went out. Sorry about that. So we just got to keep those in mind and keep those understandings there to make sure that we clearly get what it's saying all the time. And I want to show you something to where we can look at this, why we hone in on this and why it's so important. Why it's so important. We have to, and it's telling you about a child, but it's telling you what you do and how you do it with the child, what we've been focusing on the entire time. But I want to pull something over. One second. Let me get this over here. And that's what I want to do. Okay, I got that pretty much what I need to do. But I want to show you something right here in Deuteronomy. I want you to see something in Deuteronomy. And same thing, I was talking to my cousins yesterday. We was having conversations, but I was showing them how we have to run these things according to precepts of the Bible and how they go. And we're going to see how we run this to understand it. So when we look at Deuteronomy chapter 6, but we want to pick it up at verse 7. We want to pick it up here, and we're going to look at something in verse 7. And you're going to see what he's saying here, and you're going to see how it's all going together to make sure we understand it. It says, thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children, and thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest, when thou in thy house, when thou walkest in the way, when thou liest down, when thou risest up. You train that child up that way. Training him up what way? Training him up to understand the ways of God. This is the importance on what we need to do. And if you're not doing that, you're teaching them the ways of the world. You're teaching them how to actually come to death. They're going to be resurrected, and then they're going to be going right back to death if you done taught them in the ways of the world. This is bottom line deal. You can look at it. It says you have to receive the kingdom as a child. And if you train them up that way, they can get this. And if you diligently teach them, I'm going to show you something that most people don't see, but we're going to see how this actually works. I'm going to show you something that shocks many people. When you're going to see this, we're going to tear all this down here. In Isaiah chapter 7, but we want to look at 15, but we want to see what it's saying spiritually, understanding what it's saying completely. And it tells us this. Actually, let me highlight that. There we go. It says, butter and honey shall he eat. And we know eat, talking about learn. That's why you got to learn that. So butter and honey shall he eat. So he's going to learn. Butter is talking about he's going to learn the sour and the bitter. Just like the sour and bitter milk. He's going to learn that, which does the butter. But what is it saying when honey? We got to understand what honey mean talking about the sweet and the rich. So we know the bitter and the sweet he's going to learn. to where he'll know the difference. And you see, he gonna talks about it. He says, and he shall in butter and honey shall he eat, that he may know to refuse the evil and choose the good. How you gonna know if you don't teach them that? If you don't diligently teach your child what they need to do, you don't diligently train that child up on what they're gonna do, that child can't receive the kingdom as a child. So as a child, he learned the ways of the world. So when he get grown, he gonna be living the ways of the world. Death to death. Death to death. That's automatic. You can't get around it. It's telling you before this child know to refuse the good, and in the land that thou abhorrest shall be forsaken both her kings. We got to understand all these things. This is why it's so important. You got to understand the bitter and the sweet to know what's going on. Because we know when he's talking about this love, he's talking about a promise. And when we do that, we can get that sweet, we can get that promise, that joy that we seek in peace. And then we can understand completely what he's talking about the entire time when he's speaking to us. He's going to always speak to us and let us know exactly what we need to know. And I'm going to show you some other things as we going through this and getting this understanding. The same thing, we was talking about faith. It's telling you faith. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Are we there? You see how he's running this. So our lifestyle is the substance of things that is hoped for. So you live in a way, you live in a lifestyle, and people sitting there saying, man, this dude is weird. This dude is strange. I'm telling you, they'll say all kind of things about you, but then they'll sit there, but you live in a way is a substance of things hoped for things and evidence of things unseen. So we have to be looking ahead towards the promise of God and knowing that our fathers are the children, and we want what they have. So the same thing, knowing this here, and that we journey, and we continually on this journey here. We want to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to be doing, going ahead towards this promise. So he started, and as you see what Abraham did, so the same thing we know that Moses and Aaron was the mouthpiece of God. We know that. It tells us this. We didn't look at Deuteronomy 18:18, but we're going to understand some more things together to where we can learn a lot more on what needs to be happening. So on this journey, and I want everybody to understand what I'm talking about. I want everybody to make sure you're in agreement on what's going to happen. Because on this journey, that each and every one of us, when you was born, you was born to be put on a journey. And now you know you're on a journey. So on this journey, and this is why you've seen that child even on the cover of this lesson. You start on this journey, and now we're here. And you have kindred. But we got to understand something. It's secrets. And we got to make sure these secrets, we understand these secrets of God in the battle to keep us either alive. And if we got to be alive, we got to be able to subdue something, to subdue our own comprehension, our own understanding. We got to remove those. We got to understand the ways of God. So we got to subdue our own comprehension in our own educated hearts on our desires on what we want. Because if we do that, I promise you, we are going to die. We have to understand the ways of God. These are bottom line deals. So on this journey, we got to understand this. So we got to lay down everything. We got to leave everything there, our old life, and then we have to pick up the life of Christ. We pick this up. That we'll be granted mercy. The righteous will find themselves written in the book. Understand what I'm saying? That's singular. That's not plural. The righteous will find their names written in the book. The ungodly will be revealed in the books. And that's the judgment. That's telling you, most people don't know. And same thing, I might be explaining stuff a little bit more because I have I got relatives, I got family here. And some might be hearing some of this for the first time. So I might be explaining some stuff a little bit more to make sure we can bring them up to speed as much as possible as I'm going through the teaching. But the thing we want to understand here is judgment, we know is doctrines and teachings. So that's what you're going to be judged from. What you was taught. You was trained up as a little child. You run into the judgment, you're going to run into the doctrines and teaching that you learned from a little child. But then if you departed from them in the way that they should go, they should have departed from the ways of the world and learned the ways of God. So we got to understand a couple of things. People will tell you that people can't live a holy life. They can't live a perfect life. They'll tell you all day they can't do these things. So we got to understand a couple of things. One, people ask me all the time, about this 40 days. 40 days pops up a lot in the Bible. 40 days, 40 days, 40 days, 40 days. They say it's showing up everywhere. And I got questions about this by elders, deacons, and some of the sisters. I get questioned on that. But we're going to learn what that is. I'm going to tell you ahead of time what it is, but I want you to remember what we're talking about. 40 days is telling you spiritually, and when you look at the Paleo understanding of the written scriptures, it'll tell you that's the training in perfection. 40 days. That's what it's telling you. It's passing of the training of perfection in the wilderness. And the same thing we see Zacharias, Elizabeth, they did that. They were walking in all the commandments of God. But I'm going to show you something to where we can get a better understanding on a lot of this here. We'll find this over in the Idris, and some of them might be shocked over here because Idris is talking about Ezra, which is in the Apocrypha, which the King James Bible again included the Apocrypha, but over here in America they decided to take it out. They took it out because they want to hide things that they didn't want you to see to show you how to bridge the entire Bible. They didn't want to show you that. But we got to look at it as a whole. And you see this in 2nd Idris chapter 14, but we're going to look at verse 33. And I want you to start looking at it, but I want you to make sure you pin everything and get the understanding on what we're going to push. And you see this here, and it's telling you, now it says, and now are ye here with your brethren among you. Now you're here. And we getting ready to go through something. So your choices, and this is where it's going to get serious, but I want to make sure that everybody understanding where we're coming from. Where we coming from? We got choices. Now we're here. You're woke. And same as I explained to people last week, some we explained to other people, the first resurrection is already occurring. The second resurrection, you have no power. But you're going to be judged based on the doctrines and teachings. On the judgment. That's your judgment. So some people are going to find their names written in the book. Some people are going to find their name written in the books. The plural one. And if your name found in the written of the books, that means you are going to die a second death. So our choice is going to be what our reasoning. Our choices is what our reasoning. Either you're going to live or die, but here in the wilderness, the land of promise, and then we can live according to what we're supposed to be doing. We need to be going to be based on our comprehension, our belief, and our trust. Write those down. That's what everything gonna be based on. Our comprehension, our belief, and our trust. In the Spirit of God, He will live according to His word. So we have to have in our heart and in our mind to trust God, and we have to have that. And we have to live according to His words. Let's look at this a little bit more. Let's go down a little bit more. In verse 34, it says this. It says, therefore, for that reason, if so be that ye will subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts. You see what he's saying? It's telling you right up front. So you have to put that your own understanding up under subjection. See, a lot of things we'll sit there and comprehend. We'll switch up in our own minds things we want to do. Oh, we're gonna tell you, no, that's okay. No, that's okay. We're gonna tell you what? No, that's bad, but it's okay to do this. No, we have to subdue your own understanding and reform your hearts. Ye shall be kept alive, and after death ye shall obtain mercy. Meaning you can get that second life. But if you don't subdue this and you lean to your own understanding, as I said, I promise you, you are going to die. I'm not seeing people say that, man, this pastor always, he talks this, he's just blunt. Yeah. Why am I lying to you? Why am I lying to you? It makes no sense. And that's why I say, when people give tithes and give money to churches, and the Bible tells you and 100% against it, but when they want that money and they want to be rich, this is what does. So they got to sugarcoat stuff to you because they want that money. See, but here, that's why you don't see no donation buttons nowhere. You don't hear me asking for nothing. The reason why, because the Bible tells you that. It tells you, don't you take any. He said, I want you to go out there and I'm going to pay you a penny. And I agree with it. So I agree with it. He's going to pay me so you can't pay me, so I can tell you whatever I need to tell you that's coming out this book. That's the difference. Those are the differences. So anything that needs to be told is told. So we're not seeking the pleasures of our flesh, but we're supposed to be seeking the wills of God. Now, I'm going to tell you something else. And to show you even more so, we want to look at it. We want to look at something and what this is about. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of us would have failed this. A lot of us would have failed this. And I'm not sitting there pinpointing one, but I'm saying a lot of us would have failed. And I'm going to tell you something about Joseph. Because Joseph was set out to do something again. In Joseph, we're going to see this over here in Genesis chapter 39, but we're going to look at verse 7, and then we're going to come back and look at some more. But it says, and it came to pass after these things that the master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, let's get busy. Lie with me. Let's go kick some boots. See, these things happen. They happen right to Joseph. Joseph didn't have no one with him. None of his brothers, his father, or his mother wasn't with him. But we got to remember one thing. God was with this man. And he couldn't lean to his own understanding, because if he's sitting there saying, I'm going to lie with her, she want to lie with me, so I'm going to lie with her. He's leaning to his own understanding, leaning on to flesh. He's going to satisfy the flesh. I'm going to satisfy her and do everything else. And we got to remember what Pharaoh means. Pharaoh don't mean nothing but king of sin. And she was the king of sin's wife. So, she'll do you in. Let's move down a little bit more and check out some. Verse 8. It says, but he refused and said unto his master's wife. You see how he's saying this? Unto his Lord's wife, but it's just talking about his ruler. His master's wife, he said, remember my master would not what is with me in this house. And he have committed all that he has in my hands, and it's up in his own power. Tell him right there. Everything that he has, he already committed in Joseph's power. But watch what Joseph say is your key. Watch what he say is your key on how you understand this. He says, none other greater in this house than I. She's standing right there before him. He said, it ain't nobody in here carrying more weight in this house than me. You in here too. And you can see she's standing right there. And you can see the semicolon. He says, neither have he kept anything from me but you, but thee. That's it. He says, because thou art thy wife, you his wife. But other than that, everything else in this house, he committed to me. But watch what he says here. He says, now, how can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? Did he say, why he didn't say Pharaoh? It's against God. Because God put him in that place. God put him in that position. God made sure he didn't subdue to his own understanding and fall in the regular way in flesh. Because he's telling you more so. Actually, let me use this one here. I'm going to show you more so what he actually did. And you'll see what happened. Because just like I said, the Most High put him in this position. In Genesis chapter 45, looking at verse 5, it makes sure we're going to look at this and get the clarity here. It tells us right here. Joseph telling his brother, he says, now for that reason, now therefore be not grieved nor angry with yourself that ye sold me hither. Remember what his brothers did? They wanted to kill him. Like my dear cousin yesterday wanted to kill me when I was dropping some scriptures on him. He wanted to kill me. He was nearby. Y'all wasn't gonna hear Elder Johnson today when I was dropping that heat on him. But he's telling you, don't be angry with yourselves. He says, for God did send me before you to preserve life. He sent him there. He sent him there. They thinking they did it, and he didn't send it. God sent him there. And on top of that, God even gave him favor to show you that God was with him the entire time. We're going to see this in Genesis chapter 39, but we'll see this in verse 21. Verse 21, the same as we was running, we were saying this. It's telling us. It says in the Lord, when you see all caps, it says capital O, capital R, capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D. That's telling you the Spirit of God. That's what that means every time. So, but the Spirit of God was with Joseph. The same Spirit that came down and hovered over the waters. The Spirit of God came down, and the Spirit of God, and he was with Joseph, and he showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keepers of the prison. Joseph down there running the prison. He was with Joseph. So we couldn't take this pleasure of the flesh. That's why he told his wife that. See, wasn't nothing kept from me but you. I got everything in the house. I'm running. The only thing he told me not to do is bother you. So if I bother you, I'm not doing it to him. I'm doing it to my God. This is where a lot of us would have failed. A lot of us would have failed here. In fact, let's go here to verse 35. Let's look at verse 35. And it's telling us a little more. It says, for after death shall the judgment come. You see how he's saying that. So after death shall the judgment come. So if you wasn't resurrected and you was leaning to your own understanding in this life, after death, now your doctrines and teachings are going to come. And if you wasn't learned in the Bible as what he's telling you, you don't know about God in the Bible on what he been supposed to been taught, oh, you got a problem. We got a problem now, because he said we supposed to learn it when we get up, learn it when we walking, learn it when we sitting, learn it when we laying down. He said, train up a child as the way it should go. And when he get old, he should not depart from it. For after death shall judgment come. After death, judgment's going to come. Those doctrines and teachings going to come back up. This stuff is going to come back. And once it comes up, when we shall live again, some going to miss it. Some of us going to miss it. It says, and then shall the names, you see the names. So names, the same thing, like I said, I'm sharing. Names mean ways. So when it says, shall the ways, that's what it's telling you. Don't think the names. You get off of that, because that's carnal thinking. That's the ways of the flesh. That's the ways people teach and teach you false doctrine and get you caught up. This is telling you, then shall the ways of the righteous be manifest, shall be made known, including the works. You see how it goes back to the works now? Because the ways of the righteous was one way, but the works of the ungodly shall be declared. Now we get it. Now you see how he's going to compare this based on the judgments, based on the doctrines and teaching that you got. I want to make sure before we get started, everybody gets that. Everybody understand that, because we honing in on something that we need to understand. I just want to make sure, and you can put yes or no in there, but I want to make sure you clearly get this, because this is going to get more and more serious. We're going to keep putting the squeeze and keep putting the squeeze and keep putting the squeeze and keep putting the squeeze on each and every one of us, because each and every one of us, me included, all of us got to understand it. If we don't understand it, the place of hell is our resting place, and we ain't going to get out of it. So we have to learn this, and we have to understand it as a little child, meaning we have to learn how to be obedient in that way. So we want to understand that, and once that's going to be made known, we're going to know something that's going to happen. We're going to know things that's going to happen. Actually, let me pull this one here. Let's pull this here, and the same thing like what I tell, when we look over here, that's why it's always best to always stay all Bible to where we can understand exactly what we need to be doing. But let's look at it a little bit closer. Let's look at this closer. We're going to look this over in Hebrews in chapter 9. Hebrews chapter 9, but we're going to pick it up at verse 26. It's saying something real special that we need to really figure out and they need to understand. Figure out and understand. So we're going to pick this up in verse 26, but we're going to understand a couple of things here. Actually, let me move that one. Why this is there. Okay. So in Hebrews chapter 9, verse 26, it says, "For then must he often have suffered since the foundation of the world. But now once the end of the world have he appeared to put away sin." We got some of us living in sin unto death. But he coming to put sin away. Sin has to be put away. But it says, but the sacrifice, and sacrifice is telling you this is, you got to establish this covenant. But by the established covenant of himself, in that established covenant, sin got to be gone. Sin has to be removed. So once the world ends, God appears. And then this great white throne going to show up. And heaven and earth going to flee. It tells us that in Revelation. It tells us heaven and earth going to bounce. And then the sea going to give up its, they're going to tell you, hey, you can be anywhere but here. But you can't be here. You got to go. It's going to flee away. And then you're going to see the dead of the small and the great. Don't matter who they are. People be seeing Frank Sinatra and Michael Jackson standing in line. They ain't got no special line for them. They're going to stand before him. They're going to be standing before the God of Israel. And he going to open up those books with the S. And he got another book with no S. And he going to separate the books from the book. We better make sure we in that book. Because if you in those books, you got a problem. You have a problem. And we got to subdue our own understanding according to our hearts to where we can see what's going on according to the flesh. So if we tied up in it out, we're going to get caught up. We're going to get caught up. So as we sitting there, we looking at this, we're going to understand it. And it's telling you right here what we're going to see in verse 27 in Hebrews. It says, in comparing, because as don't mean nothing but a comparison. So it said, and as it is appointed unto men once to die. You're going to die once. But after this, judgment. Based on judgment don't mean nothing but doctrines and teachings. After that, what were you learning when you was a little child? What were you learning? I told you what me and my brother used to do. We had the shortest thieving career. We might hold a cake on our thieving career when me and him was little kids. We were going in the store stealing candy. We going in the store, we were stealing candy. And we had the shortest career, and the one who caught us wasn't the store owner. The one who caught us was our uncle, our own uncle. He whooped us. He brought us back to our aunt's house. She whooped us. Called her husband, my uncle. He came home. He whooped us. They called my mama. She came over. She whooped us. And then they had to mess around and call Pawpaw, our grandfather. He's the crier. He gonna come over, he gonna cry on you. But don't think you gonna get out that whooping. He gonna cry on you, he gonna tell you what you done did. He told you the thing, it gonna hurt me much as it gonna hurt you. And you thinking that crying gonna get you out of it. It was our own dang fault. That was the shortest thieving career me and my brother ever had. But we learned that from a little child. They trained us up from that. Because as a little child, we would have kept growing up, kept thieving, kept growing up, kept thieving, kept growing up, kept thieving. We either going to end up in one or two places. Either in jail or we're going to end up dead. Based on the doctrines and teachings, now we done lean to our own understanding doing what we want to do. Making our own choice. We want that, we stole it. And we went in that store and we had a short career. So we have to understand that right there. So it's appointed for man once to die, and then after that, the judgment. So it's all based in the book, and it's all based on the teachings. So either we're going to be in the book or we're going to be in the books. So we're going to look at something, and I want to show you something that most people don't really pay attention to, but it's right here. In the second Esdras, chapter 14, picking up at verse 30, it says, "Let no man therefore come unto me now." Can't no man come unto him now. It says, "Nor seek after me these 40 days." Don't be seeking God 40 days. What was it? You being trained in perfection. You being trained. Why you gonna seek God? And same thing, we had a conversation with some other people. They're talking about Christians and stuff like that, and people already know. I got teachings open, and people see. We had a lot of Christian teachers that came up over here, and they got their hearts broken over here live. We got the recordings right on there. And we have many other people come in there try to challenge what's in the Bible and push to their own understanding. But he's telling you right up front, don't go seeking him after those 40 days. This is not a life of games, but people think this is a life of games. A lot of us make choices unto eternal, and some going to make it into eternal life, some going to make it into eternal damnation. But it's appointed here for you to live according to what God wants you to do. And this is what we got to keep in mind. What God wants us to do. We have to hold on to that. We have to sit there and make those choices according to God. We sit there and see what we're doing is not according to God, then we need to change what we got to do. Because if we living according to the flesh, that I'm promising you right now, the same thing like I'm saying, I'm not telling you nothing no different than what the Bible says. What the Bible tells us. And we on this journey. And since we on this journey, we got to understand the journey that we on. In Romans chapter 8, chapter 13, it tells us this. It says, if we live after the flesh, ye shall die. If you live according to the flesh, you are promised you are going to die. So because what you technically saying is you are refusing the resurrection. The resurrection. You're refusing that. And the resurrection is telling you nothing, the atonement in payment for sin. You refusing that. You refusing to take that through the knowledge, and you refuse to be awakened to which you can do it. So as we see that, and I'm going to show you this, and then we'll blend them all together. So we're going to go over to 1 Corinthians chapter 15. We're going to put them all together. 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And I want to put that together. We're going to put it with verse 34. 15:34. And it's going to tell us right here. It's right here. It says, awake to righteousness and sin not. Some of us is not going to be resurrected. We want to stay in this life of sin. So we're gonna stay asleep. But it says, and sin not, but it says, for some have not the knowledge of God. So he said, I'm gonna speak to your shame. I speak this to your shame. Because it says, if you live after the flesh, ye should die. But back in Romans, it's telling us, but if ye through the Spirit do mortify the deeds of the body, meaning the flesh, ye should live. So we got a choice. You clearly have a choice. If you willing to do and awake and do what's righteous to God, that's your choice. So we're on a journey. This journey, we have to understand what it is. So a lot of us is going to come up missing. A lot of us is going to die based on the choices we make, because as we were being trained up as a little child, and don't think that these parents is not going to be held responsible for what we have done. We have taught our children in error. Told them things that was contrary to what we see in the Bible. I'm gonna show you this, and as we go through it, I want to make sure we clearly understand the journey. I want to make sure we understand it. So we got to go through a couple of things to make sure we understand the journey on what it's actually talking about. So we'll find this tucked away in Numbers chapter 33. But I want to show you something. It's right here. Right there in the law. It says, these are the journeys of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land unto Egypt, unto bondage, in their armies under the power of Moses and Aaron. The party starts. The party's going to start. But a lot of us is still, no matter what, we're going to hold on to a whole lot of crazy, silly things. And I told you right up front, here, on this earth, we have to remember what it is. We have to stop playing games with ourselves. We are here not for fun and games. We're here because here we have trials. You're on a journey. You don't have trials. And this is the proving ground. That's why he said, don't you come to me for these 40 days. Some of us is going to go right back to the dust. And the problem is heaven here. As he tells us before in all through scripture, heaven is brass and earth is iron. Sometimes he'll switch it around. Sometimes he'll say heaven is iron and earth is brass. Sometimes he'll switch it around, but it doesn't matter. He's letting you know your butt is in a furnace. Technically, just remember that. You are in a furnace. And he's saying something, I'm going to show you something to make sure this is a ground where we're going to be tested. We're going to be proven. We're going to be tried. In Sirach, we're going to find this over there in Sirach chapter 27, but we're going to look at verse 5. And he's telling us exactly what he wants us to do. He said, the furnace proveth the potter's vessels. Full thought. You see the semicolon. That's a full thought. It says, so the trial of man is his reasoning. We've been talking about this the entire time. Based on your decisions on what you're going to do is going to determine your outcome. This journey will prove, are you going to live based on righteousness, and you're going to have diligence, and you're going to make your elections toward God, and then the path that you take there, it'll never fail based on the journey you're on. So some of us is going to take the other way. We're going to take the flesh way. And that it come up against, you're going to come up with evil emotions, which is jealousy and rage and heresies, envyings and drunkenness. And these things is the world. And they're going to be based on your reasoning. Based on your reasoning. This world is a trial and you being tested by the potter himself. Think back when you was a teenager. Think back, and some of us wish we can go back and change it. Where we done wrath and strife towards others, even towards our parents. Walking around. And I tell you the stupidest thing is, see, some people might not admit it, but I admit it. But same thing, when I was a kid, I bought me a lucky rabbit's foot. Had one in my pocket. And it was a real rabbit foot, and they said, yeah, this is a real rabbit's foot. Cost me $5. And then as I get older, I say, now, how lucky was the rabbit? I got his foot in my pocket, but they telling me it's a lucky rabbit's foot, but the rabbit missing a foot. I got the foot. So the luck can't be that good because the rabbit don't have the foot. I got it. You see the ideology that's in it. You see the ideology in it. Yeah, I got my lucky rabbit foot. Rabbit sitting there saying, hell, that's my foot. We see the silliness. We see the silliness that goes on. We see the silliness, how it goes. We see the silliness, how it keeps going. We see the silliness as we continue to do these things. So people that do these things based on silliness. This is what we do. This is what we do. So people go left and some people go right. So, you'll see these things happen, but it's all silliness. So the thing I want you to remember is this, and what we want to understand. What is a journey? Because we got to understand what is a journey. We got to understand the fabric, the foundation on what a journey is. And how can a journey be defined? Because it's telling us right there, these are the journeys of the children of Israel. We have to understand distinctly what a journey is. Because we don't understand what a journey is. People say, I'm going on a journey. People say, I'm going on a journey to the store. Some people say, I'm going to the store. Some people say, I went to the store. Some people tell you all kinds of things. But the main thing is, we got to understand what the Bible says and how God sees it, because the only way that works is God's way, not our way. So we need to understand what a journey is. So we want to understand that, and we want to get the process. We want to understand what's going on. So a journey is a process of time. I want you to write these things down. We can understand them together. The journey is a process of time, and it's moving you from one place or position to another place or position. And it can be done in many ways. It's a process, which includes a start, a middle, and an end. This is a journey. And it can be physical, but one must understand the physical journey that God puts you through, that you're going to go through. It has a spiritual understanding to it for you to understand the journey. Journeys can be as short as a few minutes, and that journey can go even to a lifetime. The goal is the person to complete what's supposed to be achieved in the reason for the journey, to move you from one state to another state. Let me see if we can do something here. I'm gonna see if we can do something here to rock something. I'm gonna change up something, because thinking about it, we might can get something here. We might can get something accomplished on this one. In Matthew chapter 5, verse 21, I know that's where it is, and I notice where it is. It's here. And it says, ye have heard that it was said by them of old time, thou shalt not kill, semicolon, full thought, including whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. That's the part we want, but it's the main part I want down there, because it's right above. It's right above, because this is what we want. So we're going to use this later, but we're going to use this now. Because I want, actually, before we do all that, I want to make sure this one is highlighted. That's the one I want to mainly highlight. But we're going to use the whole verse. But I want you to understand something when it goes here. Because again, I tell you, when a Christian tells you it's sunny outside, what I tell you to do, you go outside and you look up. You look up. Because they're going to tell you things that is not there. And you see here, it says, but I say unto you, that whosoever is angry with his brother without cause shall be in danger of judgment of those doctrines and teachings. And you don't have no reason to. It says, and whosoever should say, brother, Raka. You see, now this is the stupid part. People tell you this, and they sitting there telling, oh, Raka. They use it all kind of stupid ways. Why? Because they go in concordances, Strongs. They go into stuff it tell you, seek ye out of the book of the Lord, but they go in all these outside books and tells you all these lies. But Raka is telling you about foolishness and worthless. That's what it's telling you. You say Raka based on, have you heard it said in time, oh, thou shalt not kill, and whosoever shall kill shall be in danger of judgment. And you see another one sitting there telling you this here, and he say, Raka shall be in danger of counsel, but whosoever should say, thou fool, shall be in danger of hell and fire. Same you're talking about right here. Because they telling you Raka. They telling you it's worthless. You're a fool. That's what he's saying. He's just making sure you understand it all these different ways. And I'm going to show you why he's saying it that way. We're going to look at this, and we're going to go to Mark, and I'm going to show you why he's saying that. In Mark chapter 3, but verse 28, he says this, and he makes this pretty clear the entire time. And you'll see this in verse 28. He's speaking what he's talking. And you'll see right here in 28. It says, verily I say unto you, all sin shall be given unto the sons of men. All. So if you sin against flesh, because God is not the God of flesh. He can care less about it. He's telling you this. So all sins shall be forgiven unto you, sons of men. So if you sinning against flesh, he'll forgive that. But he's saying, including blasphemies and whatsoever, they shall blaspheme. So even if you blaspheming on them, He can care less about it. That's not the focus. That's not the focus. But if you're with God, you won't do that. But if you're doing that, you flesh anyway. You spit. You spit just dropped on the ground. But watch what he says here. He's going to make this clear. He says, but he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Ghost shall never forgiveness. Raka, you said what people sit there and they'll hold the doctrines that comes out of KJBU and the Lost Sheep of Israel. They'll sit there and say, oh, we foolishness and this and that, but you'll never see them step up to us. And they'll say what we teach is foolishness and worthless. You is blaspheming against the Holy Ghost. Because if you've been looking the entire time, you never seen me lead this Bible, giving you the understanding of God. I haven't left it. There's no reason to leave because you let him speak. But it says that the Holy Ghost will never have forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation. He's clear. So the same thing here. If you sit there and you already know you should not kill. You shouldn't even be doing these things, and you're gonna be in danger of death. The doctrine of teeth, because you was taught that. That's what you was taught. Well, they do this, dude. You better. They hit you, shoot them. They do this, shoot them. They do it, kill them. You'll be dangerous of this. But then, as you learning what is right, and you say, Rucker, you'll be in danger of the council. You're going to be in danger of elders, like myself and other ones here. And then you got someone going to say, you're a fool. You in danger of hellfire, eternal damnation. So this journey is defined by the relationships towards people as God's messengers is showing you what is right and what is wrong. Not sitting there trying to make you be subservient to them, but showing you what you're supposed to be doing altogether. So this journey has a journey that has spiritual outcomes, which is the reasoning of your heart. So for the example of this process, it's the steps to understand that it's peace and happiness in the world we in. Because we in a desert world. We're in the wilderness. And once we notice and we understand we in this trial, once you notice you in the trial, now you know the trial you in, and then you can bring up things and you can say things to make sure they clear. Actually, let me show you this and make sure we all on the same page. Let me show you this and make sure we all on the same page. We're going to go to Jeremiah chapter 29. We're going to see this over here in verse 7. 29 and verse 7. Because we in this place and we in the wilderness. It says, and seek ye peace of the city whither I have caused you to be carried away captive. And pray unto the Spirit of God for in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. It's right here in front of us. So this journey is where a lot of it is caused by disobedience, but we caused to be removed out of the land, so of the land of our fathers. So we were sent on this journey, and we went through that journey. We went through Nebuchadnezzar, which we already know that means the preserve of offspring. He's the boundary stone. So on this journey, and we are doing these things. A few things, what he told us what to do, and it was the simplest things that we was told what to do, and we should have just did it. But a lot of us don't do it. A lot of it, he said a few things. He said, build houses, plant gardens, beget sons and daughters. It tells you that right there in Jeremiah chapter 29. All you do is go up to verse 6 and you'll see. Actually, verse 5, it says, build ye houses, dwell in them, plant gardens, and eat the fruit of them. Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons and give to your daughters and husbands, that they may bear sons and daughters, that ye may increase there and not diminish. It's right there. But a lot of us are not going to do that. A lot of us not going to do that based on doctrines and teachings. based on doctrines and teachings that we know. And he told us we have to leave these ways of the flesh. And if your ways of the flesh is taught by your mother and father, you have to leave that. That's why he told Abraham, get thee out of that country, away from that kindred, away from that father's house. He told Abraham that, and we are still sit there and hold on to it. And we hold on to it, that's where a lot of us going to find a lot of trouble on what he said all the time. A lot of us going to go into this. And you'll find this here also in Matthew chapter 10. But first chapter 10, but verse 37 is where you really want to check out and what you really want to start understanding, because he's going to tell you something that is clear that a lot of us still going to do. It says, he that loveth father, mother more than me is not worthy of me. If you worthy of doing it that way, then do it that way. But don't think that you worthy of coming into my kingdom. If you love father, mother more than me, you ain't worthy of me. He's clear. You want to do it that way? Do it that way. Excuse me. He said, but you ain't worthy of me. He said, and he that loveth, meaning promises, son or daughter more than me, he ain't worthy of me. So if you tied up with your kids the same way, he ain't worthy of him. Go somewhere else. See, and the same thing which it gets into where you marrying people, a lot of people, they like to marry and get in with all these strange things. It's the same thing where they marry strange wives. We teach here, we teach that here, we show people that. And they'll show you right in scripture. Because the same seed produces its own seed, but what we like to do is marry stuff outside our seeds. And the Bible don't teach that. The Bible teach everything stays within itself. But we'll go marry every other thing but with our own people. And we diminish in numbers. Comparison, so no matter what, we break the covenant of God. Actually, he talks about that real clear. And he makes sure we have done this and we want to see it. In 1 Esdras chapter 9, he says that you also see it in Ezra, because Ezra and Esdras is talking about the same person. In chapter 9, but we're going to look at verse 7. Verse 7, he says something. Why does it keep going down? It keep going. Well, let me do this. I'll shrink this some. And I can get the whole verse. So in 1 Esdras chapter 9, verse 7, it says this. It says, Esdras rose up and said unto them, ye have transgressed the law in marrying, this is what we did, in marrying strange wives, thereby to increase the sins of Israel. That's what we did. Transgressed, we've forgotten the covenant when it comes to marrying. And we have married strange wives. He tells us more here. We go down to verse 36. He tells us more here. And this is why this comes into play. It says all these had taken strange wives, including they put them away with their children. Most people is not going to do that. Why? Because they're going to lean to their own understanding. Why? Because that's the journey that they want to be on. Why? Because that's the choice they make. Why? That's why a lot of them going to bust hell wide open. Based on that alone. Based on that alone. This is what's going to happen to a lot of us. Because we're going to get caught up in this. We're going to love them more than we love God. And he already told us up front, don't do it. Actually, I tell you what, let's look at Sarah. I want to show you something with Sarah. And Sarah was even woman enough to even pick this up and understood what she did. We see this in Genesis chapter 16. You see something she did. Genesis chapter, Genesis chapter 21. We want Genesis 21. Getting old. Genesis 21, verse 10. You see what she did here. But we want that other verse. We're going to go. But it says, wherefore she said unto Abraham, cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, even with Isaac. You see what she's saying. She's making sure this is 100% clear. This is wall clear. But I'm gonna show you something else. We're gonna go right here. We're gonna look at something in Genesis chapter 16, verse 5, and make sure this is clear. This is clear here. In Genesis 16, verse 5. And it tells you, it says, and Sarah said unto Abram, my wrong be upon thee. I have given my maid unto thy bosom. And when she had conceived, I was despised in her understanding, and the Spirit of God judged me between me and thee. So he taught me between me and thee. That's what he did. Because she was in danger of that counsel. So she got counseled on that, and she knew what happened. She knew it was her own dang fault. God already had told her. He told Abraham that they were going to have a child. He was going to come through Sarah. But then they got impatient, and they went and she brought Hagar and had him go into Hagar. Hagar had a baby, and now she get despised later, and now she has an issue. But she corrected it. She corrected that. People sometimes they'll sit there and on this journey they're not willing to cross over to follow Christ. They'll sit there, they'll talk about everything about Christ, but they were not really willing to follow Christ. The same is not worthy to go into the kingdom with Christ. See, the furnace always here is going to prove his vessels. He's going to prove his vessel because it's going to be based on our reasoning. This journey is going to get many of us in deeper debt, and some of this journey is going to get some of us out of debt. It's all clear. Some of us going to get way deep in debt, and some of us going to get out of debt on this journey. So people will sit there and they think, because they saying, oh, I love God, I love God, I love God, I love God, I love God. So they'll sit there and they think and they'll swear up and down they can do sin. And they can't. In fact, Paul spoke on that. Paul spoke on that once. We'll look at it in Romans chapter 6. You see it in verse 15. Paul spoke about it. He says, what then? Shall we sin because we are not under the law, but under grace? God forbid. No. Because you're in this training place, you think you can get away with it? No. You think that you hear and you, oh, I know God, so now you just under grace. You good. No. A lot of us going to screw up. So this is the $1 million question. Shall we continue to live in our own bubble of transgression? Because we know the difference between the law of flesh and the covenant with God. And most of us don't know that. Most of us don't know. It's two laws in the Bible. Most of us don't understand how it's actually running. Most of us don't know these things. So since we don't know it, we'll hold on to something that's contrary to God. This is the issue. This is the problem most of us are going to run into. This is the problem most of us are going to always try to understand but don't understand. Most of us are going to sit there and go through things and not get it. But what we got to do is understand it's a law of flesh and you got to covenant with God, in which gives you grace based on your actions. Based on the action, we got to pay the price. That eternal death is going to happen. So the same thing it tells us when we pick it up at verse 16. It tells us this. Make sure it's clear. Real clear. It says, know ye not that whom ye shall yield yourselves servants to obey, his servants are to whom ye obey? So if you're obeying the words of sin, then you're going to be a servant to sin. And you are going to die the second death. That's regardless of what you think. Regardless of what you say it is. I'm not going, that ain't sin unto death. That ain't sin unto death to who? It's not to God, because God telling you right up front here. But he says, so whether of sin unto death or obedience unto righteousness. It's your choice, but some people are not willing to do it. Some people are not willing to take those shots. Some people are not willing to change the way on this journey. They willing to just stay the way they are no matter what. And God never changes. He never changes, but people will sit there and say, no, he changed. One guy, this one pastor said this, and he's a big time pastor. Y'all see him when he went on TV. He said, he talked about the children of Israel. He said that was their dispensation. And we in another dispensation, which is still another lie. But he said, stop opening up other people's mail. That's the stupidest thing you can ever hear. So he's telling you something back there that he'll use when he wants your money, but then he'll sit there, but when he's saying what they have to hold to based on the promise, he'll say, stop opening up other people's mail. We under grace. We can do what we want to do. That's his own understanding. He's an educated fool. An educated fool in Bible. And we have done this. We are taking these strange wives. We're taking strange wives. It tells us that we are taking these strange wives and we have to put them away. So the same thing is we have to be proven first. We have to be proven first. And that's why the Bible always tells us, don't be hasty to credit one to a friend. Don't be hasty to do that. In fact, actually thinking about that, let's look at something with Abraham. Show you something with Abraham. Abraham had to be proven first. And you see this in James chapter 2, picking up at verse 23. It tells us, and this makes sure it's clear to each and every one of us. Watch what it says here and making sure we're clear. It says, and the scriptures were fulfilled. So Abraham fulfilled the scriptures. He fulfilled them. He fulfilled everything that was required of him through the doctrines and teaching that God showed him. So they was fulfilled, which said Abraham believed God. So after everything, at the end of the day, you actually go talk to Isaac. Isaac will tell you himself, he tried to kill me. Yeah, he sure was. He said, you go up on that mountain, you sacrifice Isaac unto me. Okay, no problem. And he did like Pookie. Man, he gonna kill me. He sure was. He sure was. He was gonna take you out. But he believed God. And it was imputed unto him for righteousness. And he was called a friend of God, making sure ain't nothing above him, above God. Nothing. Those scriptures was fulfilled with him. But a lot of us, we're going to miss that. We're going to miss that boat. A lot of us going to miss this boat. And we got to remember this journey we on. He put away his son Ishmael. He put the bondwoman in the son. Abraham was proven a friend of God. He was proving that. So when you see this, I'm going to show you something else. So when you see that all together, you understand what Abraham was all about. So we get what Abraham was about. We understand him a lot better. And you see why it says this in Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. It says, wherefore sin we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses. There's people around us. It says, let us lay aside every weight, including the sin which do so easily beset us. It can be the simplest things in the world that'll beset us. The simplest things. It says, so let us run with patience that race that is set before us. This is a race. This is the journey that you put on. You got to start, a middle, and an end. And a lot of us are going to start it, but we're not going to end it. A lot of us are going to start, get to the middle, then we're going to stop it. A lot of us are going to start it, we're going to go just to the beginning. A lot of us are going to start it and go to the end. But we got to put this stuff away. And we got to have a whole lot of patience to where we can understand this journey we on, what's required of you. This journey, you'll find out that Yahweh, God, the God that created the heaven and the earth, that he sent forth his word, and we must follow it to the letter. If you're going to go into his kingdom, this journey is a process that I told you from the beginning that we have to follow. And a lot of us don't want to follow it, but we have to follow his blueprint. We have to follow his way. We have to follow what he told us what to do. So this journey we need understanding, and a lot of people think it comes with fun and games, but this flesh comes with a price. This journey has life changes by renewing our minds. This journey is where you'll find your 100% true self. you'll find out the true purpose on why you actually are here. In doing this journey, some of us will become even watchmen. Even in this journey, some of us are going to become watchmen in that, and some of us will assist others even in faith. Some of us assist others even in wisdom. But each of these journeys that you'll go on to is also to prove your reasoning with him. In fact, he actually, speaking of that, let's look at something. Let's look at something. He says something in Numbers 33 verse 2. He actually said this, and we'll see that. It says, and Moses wrote their going out according to their journeys. So he wrote these things according to their journeys by the commandments of the Spirit of God that saying, and these are their journeys according to their going out, to their goings out. These are the things we gotta fall into. These are things that's going to happen. So we got to remember when we departed, what we did, what happened. And we're going to see something here when we look at verse 3. I just want to show you this as we're going through here. Verse 3, it tells us something. And we're going to find out some things, because we got to look at everything spiritually. We got to stop looking at everything carnally. Because when we look at it carnally, all you're seeing is the words on there. But since we don't understand the Paleo Hebrew, and people will sit there and they'll hold it all kind of other ways, but then it gets into silliness, because then they're going to start injecting themselves and all kind of other stupidness. But it tells you right here. It says, including they departed from Ramses. You see what it's saying there? It's telling us right here, Ramses. But we want to understand what Ramses mean. Most people, when you see in movies and everything, they talk about Ramses as a person. But what I always teach over here, remove the name and understand the function of what you see. The function of what you see. So Ramses talking about dissolving evil. So once they did, they departed from Ramses. So this was the journey of departing from dissolving evil. You see what it's saying there? And now watch this, what it says. It says, in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month, on the morrow was the Passover. They're going to pass over from one side to the other side. They passing over from things of the flesh, passing over to the stuff of the spirit. You see how he's doing this? You see how he's running this to you? He's making sure you 100% clear, making sure everybody get this. As I'm speaking, just say yes and no. But that's what he's making sure you're clear on right here. That's Passover. He's telling you right up front, that's Passover. You passing over from one way to one mind of a state over to another mind of a state. This is the journey that you're on. Everybody get that. Everybody understand what's going on. This is why this is so important. This is why so many people won't get caught up. But we cannot get caught up in these games. We got to make sure we understand this Bible 100%. We got to make sure we understand what we understand as we pushing through here on this journey. And he's telling us we departed from Ram. We departing from the evil on the first month on the 15th day. Because what it says, that's unleavened bread. And we'll get to it. We're going to get to it. But actually, we're going to go on and run to it and make sure we all clear on this. I'm going to show you what's going on. Why he's telling us we're going from one state to another state, but he want to make sure you clearly get this. And myself, I want to make sure you get it, and I'm trying to make sure I don't start fussing at nobody, because I'll start fussing in the heartbeat, and they know I'm known for doing that. So I try to be cool. I've been working on my coolness all the time. So we see right here, and it's going to see. We're going to blend these two together, and we're going to get the understanding. It says, on the 15th day in the law, right there in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 6, it says on the 15th day, and it says, the same month is the feast of unleavened bread unto the Spirit of God. 7 days ye must eat, and I'm talking about that into completion, you're going to eat unleavened bread. Meaning what? Meaning what does that mean? Unleavened bread, pure. Unleavened, pure bread, pure truth and understanding. And it says unto it means towards the Spirit of God, towards the Spirit of God, towards the Lord. So we got that. That's what we got to do. We got to cross over. We got to stop playing this game. Stop playing the game and let's put in work. Yeah, God probably get me stopped from fussing sometime. Y'all stop me from fussing, because y'all know y'all make me start fussing, and I get caught up and all this stuff, and these things happen. And this is what's going on here. So we got to cross from the things of the flesh and understand the things of the spirit. So we got to go through here and we go on this journey. So all the time we're going to go on this journey that we start is Passover. So as we passing over, we got to go 7 days until completion. 7 days. That's until you're dead. You're going to eat unleavened bread. Pure truth and understanding towards the Spirit of God. That's what you're going to do for 7 days until you're dead. Who going to cross over? See, that's the key. Who going to cross over? Some of us not going. Some are going to sit there. No. I like my dog laying in the bed with me when I look at TV. I like patting him on his head. Yeah. Guess what? You gonna die. Pookie, I'm gonna die. Yeah, you gonna die. Some of you like cheating and all this stuff on your wife. Yeah, guess what? You gonna die. Some of y'all want to sit there and get mixed up with a whole bunch of craziness with people. You gonna die. You say, I'll tell you what. You out there having sex with everything that you can with. You guess what? You gonna die. You having all these problems with everybody. You sitting there, your ways is the ways that you want to go, and none of the ways are the ways of God. Guess what? You gonna die. And then when you die, it's your own dang fault. Lord, if I would have known. No, you knew. He just showed it. He just showed it to you right here. He showed it to you. Moses wrote them in here, and he said, and you departed from these ways of evil. So the first month, on the 15th day of the first month, and tomorrow is after. Let me show this again. I'm going to be calm. I'm going to try to be calm because I want to make sure everybody get it. I get after the Passover. So after our butts then got over to the other side, now we're going to just start learning what we need to know. We're going to learn what we need to know. On the 15th day, the same month, the feast is unleavened bread. Pure truth and understanding unto the Spirit of God. 7 days until completion, until we are dead. But let me calm down. I got to calm down because I also got some family sleeping. And I do not need to get riled up, but I'm trying to be cool. But let's look at this. Let's look at it. We're going to look at it all together. Verse 4, it says, in the Egyptians, you see what's going on. In the Egyptians buried all the firstborn, which the Spirit of God has smitten among them upon their gods. Also, the Spirit of God executed judgment. He executed this doctrines and teachings. He did this. He did this. I'm telling you, I'm trying to be cool because I'm going to tell you, it's going to get ugly real quick in here right now. It's going to get ugly real quick on this one because as I'm going down in here, you're going to see a lot of stuff that we do. All you got to do, and you just, our own dang, but it's our own dang fault. Just keep that, it's our own dang fault on a lot of stuff we getting ready to see. It's our own dang fault. And we're going to see that. I'm going to show it to you. Who else to show it to? Best people to show it to? Us. Because it's our own dang fault. Now, I want you to look at this real close. Because he's checking us, but people are sitting there don't know he's checking us. But I'm going to let you know he's looking right at you and telling you we're foolish. Watch what he said. In the children of Israel, removed from Ramses. So we was removed from there. Now we know what Ramses is. We was removed from there. Meaning he took you from there on purpose. You was removed. You were like kicked out from sin. You was kicked out from being in this sinful place. Keep that in mind. You was removed from there, from Ramses, pitched the tent. And then we pitched the tent in sackcloth. You got fools out there right now. Got stuff in their backyard talking, I'm making a Sukkot. I gotta stay in my Sukkot. Just as idiots as I don't know what. Why? Because we have people who done taught you errors and all these kind of things. But you see right here where he did this. But a Sukkot ain't nothing but a temporary dwelling. That's what that is. It's a tabernacle, it's a temporary dwelling. But it's to prepare us for this journey on dissolving evil. That's what it's for. But I'm just going to show you how much let's work through this. All I'm saying to each and every one of you guys, I'm asking you to do this. Pray for Elder Johnson, because I need to be calm on this one. And it says, and they departed from Sukkot and pitched the tents in Ethium. So I'm going to tell you what this stuff means. We're going to see what Ethium is. So Ethium is our wilderness, and it's the boundary of the sea. That's what Ethium. And it even tells you there, it says Ethium, which is the edge of the wilderness. That's what it is. It's telling you what it is. So as we sit there and we see what's going on, and this is where everything starts. Everything starts here. So we got to keep this in mind. Everything starts right here. But watch what happens. Watch what happens. I want you to stay with me on this. Okay, verse 7, it says, they removed from Ethium. So you see, I ain't got to say nothing. You see what happened. Here's the issue. We got removed from there. So, but he's gonna tell us something. And turned again to somewhere we shouldn't have went. To Paleo. We turned again to that. I'm pausing just for you to think about it. I'm telling you, we and turned again to Paleo. I want you to just think about that. I'm gonna tell you what it is, but I just want you to think about it. Because we did something again. And the Paleo is mouth of wrath. That's what that's telling you. We turn right back again to the mouth of wrath. And which is before Baal Zephron. I'm telling you, we can't get out of our own way. We cannot get out of our own way on this. And Baal Zephron is Baal, meaning Lord. Baal, Lord, with a little L, which is an idol, and it's the Lord of the North. I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. We cannot get out our own way on this. It's crazy. It's craziness. But it gets better. It says, including they pitched tents in Magdal. So Magdal is a tower, and it normally say the fortress. That's normally what it be held at. I just wanted to let you know. We getting kicked out, moving, and getting kicked out. We getting kicked out. So basically what we doing now, we couch hopping. We sleeping on couches. We couch hopping. Technically what we doing. Technically what we doing. And it's our own. Yeah, you'll see. So we move on. We move on. Let's get down to verse 8. It says, and they departed from before Patharon, and they passed through the midst of the sea into the wilderness. 3 days journey. Went a 3 days journey into the wilderness of Ethium. And pitched in Mara. I'm telling you, we can't get out our own way. So Mara is bitterness, is what that means. But it also has another meaning. It also means we rebelled. So you just keep that in mind. Bitterness, but we rebelled. You keep bitterness, I don't too much worry about. Just keep in mind, we rebelled. That's the one I want you to keep in mind. So we pitched the tits in Myra. But it gets better. It gets better. It's our own dang fault on a lot of this. You see, they was removed from Myra. Why? We rebelled there. That's what we did. We good at doing it. I ain't doing this. I ain't doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing. Tell me we don't do it. So we got took out. We got kicked out. We got kicked out from Myra. So we came to Elam. Oh boy, 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 boy. Oh boy, this. So we seeing what's happening. So now you see why it's so important to understand names and stuff like that. Because he's telling us right there in front of us, right in front of us, all these years with everything was saying, and we getting kicked out. We couch hopping. We rebel. Myra, bitterness and rebelliousness is what we got kicked out for. We got kicked out. We got kicked out. And we returned to Elam. So we went back to Elam. Elam is mighty ones. Better yet, strong trees. We went there. We came into Elam. You see it right here. When we was removed from here, we went here to Elam. We went there. And in Elam were found 12 fountains of water. You see how okay, these mighty ones, these strong trees, we found 12 fountains of water. Okay. Let's work through this. Let's all take a breather for a second, and we're gonna work through this. Because this journey, it kind of gets you upset if you think about it. So we want to make sure we're all on the same identical page. So we found 12 fountains of water and 10 palm trees they pitched there. Okay, we got that. Everybody got that. But I'm gonna show you what he's actually talking about. Everything telling, like I'm saying, he's telling you a parable. He's telling us a straight out parable that we don't look at. So I'm gonna show you what he's talking about to where we understand it. These mighty ones, that's 10 palm trees. I'm gonna show you that to where we can move forward and just show you what we did. And no matter what, show you just our hard-headedness in this. In Exodus chapter 24, in verse 9, we're gonna look at 9 and 10. So we know that's talking about 70 people, but you'll see it here. It says, then went up Moses, Aaron, Nadab, and Abihu, 70 of the elders of Israel. That's what this is talking about. On our journey, this is what happened. And they saw the God of Israel, and there was under his feet the paved work and sapphire stone, and as a body of heaven in its clearness. This is what they did. So that was them. That's what you see this. They was removed, and they found these 12 fountains of water, these 12 tribes, and 10 palm trees. And he pitched there. That's what this is talking about, right here. So once this happened, you see what he did on something. And we'll see more so what went down. Let me move this here. Let's go to Numbers and see what happened. Because we got to go up a little bit and see what happened. We're going to go to Numbers 11, but we're going to pick it up at verse 24 to get a better understanding here. It says, and Moses went out and told the people the words of the Spirit of God, including gathered 70 men of the elders of the people, and set them round and about the tabernacle. He's telling you what was going on. But then still you see here, and the Spirit of God came into the cloud And he spake unto them. I mean, he took the spirit which he had upon him, or had upon Moses, and gave it unto the 70 elders. And it came to pass, when the spirit of God rested upon them, they prophesied and did not cease. So now they teaching the people too, but they had a problem with this. This was a little bit of a problem, because they had two men that wasn't there, that they was in the camp prophesying. Because that's his prerogative. That's God's prerogative to do what he want to do. Actually, let me show it to you. We might well move down because it's right here. So we might well look at that and get an understanding. You see, they had a problem with it, and the wrong one had a problem with it. That was Joshua. Because you'll get killed messing around with Joshua. And you see here it says, but there remained two men in the camp, named one was Eldad, the name of the other, the way of the other was Medad. And the spirit rested upon them. So the spirit was also upon these two guys here. Now, Eldad and Medad, we got to understand what it is. Eldad is God has loved, meaning God has promised. Medad is the measure of love. So it's the measure of promise based on what you're doing. Based on what you're doing. This is clear. This is all clear as day. But watch what happens. It says in there when they that were written, but out of the tabernacle, and they prophesied unto the camp. They prophesied unto the camp also. Now Joshua had a problem with this, but if you want to go read about it, because Joshua was the one who wasn't told. All Joshua needed is the go ahead. I guarantee you they would have died. But Moses refused that, because the Spirit of God would see his people, that all his people was prophets. That's what God wanted to see. But you'll see that if you read Numbers chapter 11, you'll see that's what Moses, that event that was taking place on what was happening there, you'll see that what was going on with Moses and why Moses took that stance, that God wanted to see all his people prophets. That's what he wanted to do. That was the focus on that. But the main thing is, some people got upset because they wasn't part of the 70 that went up. He said, even them that believed on his way. Even them. Tells you that in John. So all these things we got to keep in mind. In verse 10, it says this here. We're going to look at something. Tell you, we can't get our own way. Including they removed from Elam. Got kicked out. We got kicked out. I gotta laugh to keep it from hurting. We got kicked out. Why? People lean into their own understanding. You get people where you even talk with people and they'll talk with them, and you go through scripture and they always want to inject in some of their own ideology. They want to inject in their own thoughts. They want to inject in something, which makes no sense.